We need to have EQ because women have now filled our spaces.
Single woman, yeah. I've asked for a lot of help from random guys.
It's about reward. Why do I need to change?
Is this something I can continue with? Not that I'm trying to break up relationships out here.
You got excited about me doing things. I'm going to keep on doing things.
Better. As you keep talking, your mouth keeps getting drier.
I wouldn't advise you to build a bear.
The lifestyle show where we learn how to self-coach our way through life to increase self-awareness without judgment. That's me, your host and coach, Kibibe Bailey. Safe space conversations, storytelling and journey sharing. This is the Glow Up Tribe podcast.
And welcome to the Glow Up Tribe podcast. This is a lifestyle podcast which is all about the art of self-coaching. What is self-coaching? Self-coaching, in essence, is about being a non-judgmental observer in your inner world. So it's your inner conversations, it's acknowledging your feelings and your needs, it's emotional regulation, it's all of those things, it's self-awareness, the list goes on. But this is what this is all about. In this tribe, we value many things, one of them being personal growth and development, so you can be your highest self and live life from that place. I am your host and your coach, your very own coach, Kibibe Bailey. And yeah, let's get into it. Today, on this first episode, this very special episode, we are talking about dating and relationships from a different angle though, so don't switch off. I couldn't not get Kojo on, aka Little Black Book, YouTuber, waist whiner, gym body, all of those things. Kojo, hey.
Hey man, what's good man? You right?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm alive and well. I'm alive and kicking.
Yeah, you're special, you know.
Oh,
you are very special.
What
Do you know
can I
why?
say?
This is a moment for me. This is the first episode.
Oh, look, I've been blessed then, isn't it?
You have been blessed.
I love it, man. Hit me. You know I'm ready.
I know you're here right now. No, as I said, this is a special episode.
Come on.
But I know I've written in your comments before. I watch pretty much all of your content. Yeah, I'm always
sliding in?
I've clicked on the bell button. The notifications come through, and I just want to acknowledge you. Like, I just want to say I'm so proud of you.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I honestly am, and it's just like your progress, your growth as an individual. You add value, you're consistent, and yeah, I just love it. I'm inspired. You've inspired me. And it's interesting how we met years ago and you were on my show, my old show, which is now shut down, but like that's how we met. And it's kind of, in some ways it feels like full circle because it's like you're back again on my show. So yeah, I just love you.
And listen, that was good times, man. I was actually thinking about that as well before we even started. And I was like, I remember, I think one of the first ones we ever did was actually colorism.
Yeah.
So that was one
Was it in that bar?
It was in that bar, yeah. And I was thinking about it.
You were on the end and it
I was just going to end. And I remember thinking to myself, I had no clue what colorism was. I just went and studied it. And I was like, I still have no... But now, obviously, now you have a much more deeper understanding. I was like, wow, I really didn't know nothing. I just wanted to be on the show. You know what I mean? It was a great conversation, though. So
it was. It was decent. Yeah.
Shout out to you as well, man.
Yes, thank you, man.
Yeah, you're looking pretty too,
Oh gosh, thank you. Don't get me blushing.
That's what we do, baby. Don't play with me.
So yeah, listen, let's just jump straight in. Mm-hmm. Dating and relationships. I know that's kind of your thing.
Come on, yeah, man.
You do have a special gifting for that.
I love it.
And today we are talking about emotional intelligence. And my personal opinion about this is that I don't think it's spoken about enough. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember I had a debate on YouTube actually the other day with some men, and it was interesting because they were discussing whether you need to even have the word emotional intelligence. It's like, well, if emotional intelligence is what a mature adult is. And I was like, no, we have different forms of intelligence. And so therefore you have to work on different components of yourself in order to bring yourself to a well-rounded individual. And what a mature adult was 50 years ago, it's not what a mature adult is today. Like, I think depending on where the society is, it requires different inputs as an individual, as an adult. Do you know what I mean? So for me personally, EQ doesn't get spoken a lot because it's not preached a lot. It's not spoken about a lot. It's not taught necessarily in school. You're not taught EQ.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. It's like it's been put together by psychologists, and obviously many of us don't study psychology, but you've got your four quotants, as it were. So that's emotional, you've got adversity, you've got social, and you've got IQ, obviously, which that's another thing. When you get into adulthood, IQ, we can get by with low IQ. EQ? Okay, like that. Do you know what I mean? The levels need to come up higher, because IQ is something that for me, I mean, I'm not the smartest. I'm not the the sharpest tool in the toolbox, but I get by, you know. And I think having EQ, I think for me, I've got more value in having a higher EQ than IQ.
Well, let's create some carnage. Why do you have a higher esteem for
I
EQ?
think as well, I don't know if it's because I'm a creative, I'm not using that as an excuse or a clutch, but I've never really been, let's just say, academic like that. I think I've been smart in what I want to be smart in, and the rest is the rest, you know. But
can you put one over the other, right? Like, can you put EQ ahead of social quotient? Can you put that ahead of intelligent quotient? Can you put that ahead of adversity quotient? Don't you need to have a balance? I think someone should be
well-rounded, ideally.
Okay.
Well-rounded. But I do mention EQ a lot. I can't lie. I don't know if it's because I've been dating and it's just been finding that things are going left.
Maybe because a certain gender believes they have the overall leadership in that area. They tend to feel that they're more emotionally intelligent. Maybe that's why you have more emphasis on it. Maybe it becomes easier for you.
Well, yeah, I think it does become easier for women because we're naturally emotional, but at the same time, there's many women that are immature in their emotions in terms of not regulating them. It's not an excuse because you're a female that we must run around. And I mean, I even put my hands up. I've had issues with anger. And yes, I've been in therapy, thank the Lord. And maybe there is a bit of a short fuse there, you know. And I think I've said this to someone else, but like the bits of anger in me. And it's funny, I was watching a video of yours and you talked about there's three levels of free outputs or something. It's like
emotional regulation. Yeah.
Express,
understand, and process.
Yes. And it's very interesting because even when you said that, I was like, do you know what? I feel like parts of maybe the anger in me, maybe from childhood, it was having and without speaking badly about my mum, by the way, but just my parent didn't have a high EQ. And I'm not blaming my mum. I'm just saying I feel like that's a part of it. Yeah. When you don't have obviously a high EQ parent, you are then restricted in how you go about even the connection, the explaining, the acknowledging, everything is affected. So I'm like, wow, this is deep.
Yeah, and that's why I said that. Yeah, that's why I would say that we're in a generation now where EQ is essential. Where maybe our parents and our grandparents, EQ is not essential. What you need to do is survive. We have not got time for EQ.
Deep.
We have to survive. You know what I mean? So the adversity quotient becomes more important because I need to be able to go through the struggle.
Be through the roof.
They're through the roof. That's why they're giving us. That's why they're giving the energy they're giving you. They're like, you soft. Right, because they've gone through certain things.
But now we've gone the other way. That's the thing.
Because that's where society is right now. So since the lion is not chasing the gazelle anymore, well, you need to work on EQ. But you wouldn't have had to work on it before because you were the gazelle running from the lion. The gazelle hasn't got time to think about its EQ because it's running from the lion. Once the gazelle can now chill and the lions have gone away and they're no longer chasing them for an extended period of time, then the gazelle can work on the EQ. And that's where we are in society. I think EQ is something that we discuss more in today's society because we have such different threats that are not so much external as in terms of your physical threats, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, when you want to maintain a relationship now, you know, you're going to have some emotional intelligence, especially as a man, as a leader as well. You need to have EQ because women have now filled our spaces.
As we kind of like talk the whole EQ thing, emotional intelligence, just a few stats. Emotional intelligence accounts for nearly 90% of what moves people up the ladder when IQ and technical skills are roughly similar. Only about 36% of people in the world are emotionally intelligent.
Sounds about right. And I don't think that's going to change. It doesn't need to change either.
Are you one of those people? Are you one of the 36%?
I think so.
You'd like to think so, innit?
I don't think so. You know what I mean? But I think it's not necessary. It's not necessary that it has to change. Like society has always had winners and losers. There are always going to be people who are going to be emotionally intelligent who are going to take it and win, and there are going to be people who will not take it and lose. The only difficulty we have is how it affects people in terms of what their choices after. So it's not just about you not having a better job. Would you turn to a life of crime? Would you do something that's a bit more physically grievous to society? That's where it becomes an issue. But in reality, there's always winners and always losers. And those who have taken on EQ have understood that in this particular time we're in society-wise, I need EQ in order to win. In fact, anybody who has even dark triad traits in terms of psychology, like who maybe, quote unquote, maybe uses manipulation, understands EQ. A magician understands EQ. He knows how to make the audience feel something. And that's the whole point. So when you are in this society, you have to understand those who are winning actually understand EQ. Even if you don't agree with their particular perspective, they understand EQ. They understand how to make people feel something. They understand how they feel. And they try to impress that on others. That's our whole marketing.
That's what they do at marketing. That's what exactly I was going to say. Marketing,
same
brands.
We're doing it right now. This is beautiful. This is making me feel, rich.
Even the intelligence quotient only accounts for 20% of success. This is because social and emotional intelligence is a major determinant of success. Imagine that.
That's because relationships are what build businesses. They're what bring success. If you don't know how to have relationships, you can't actually have much success. No one man is an island.
So have you had any issues with EQ and ladies?
I mean, listen, I'm sure. You know, when we talk about being able to be aware of your emotions, it's taken a little bit of a journey to get to that particular place where I understand and can put language to how I'm feeling and also be able to express how I'm feeling, you know. Shout out to some of the ex-girlfriends. Unfortunately, you know, I wasn't in that place as, you know, I am now. And I'm sure a lot of ladies have gone through that with us as men, that EQ-wise, we were not in that particular place. We were not necessarily understanding how to translate or speak what we feel, or we never felt like we had the place to be able to do that. We're not blaming any woman for that. That's what we've gone through in life. And also because we actually, as men, tend to value the IQ because it's about problem solving. Men are often judged on what they can solve and what they can build. So that tends to be what we run to much more easier because EQ, we don't see it as being something as valuable. But it is, of course. But yeah, a lot of us, including myself.
I love the men that fix things. I'm really even the other day I was just gonna take my car to Halfords because I thought I'm struggling with getting this bonnet open. It was on a public road. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this today. And then I saw a man on the wall and I thought, you know what? Let me go and ask him. He came over. He was first. You know, the thing is with men, I've a single woman. Yeah, I've asked for a lot of help from random guys, and he came over. And it's funny because they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I'll. And then and you're like, this. I said to him, this is why we need men, because you just do things. You just do it the way you do it, and I'm just like, you're doing it right. Sorry, I need to stop with the American accent.
We understand.
But no, I just love it, honestly.
But again, so again, that's why men can get past it, because why do we need to have EQ? You just you need
EQ because you'll stress people like me out. I've had my own experiences of low EQ, and it's like.
But you just praised us just now. You were so excited. Look how you was glowing up.
Well, so then I will take the help, but you just keep your mouth closed because you don't know how to.
By then it might be too late. By then we might have sucked you into the world by then. So why should I work about EQ?
Listen, you may get me with the glitter and the gold and the glitzy things, but when I start settling in now, this is what will take me. I can't.
How long are you gonna wait before you settle in? That's the question. You might be 2 years in.
I've got a question for that I was going to ask you the same thing.
That's why men don't change. We don't see the benefit of having to change.
So you're saying if you don't have EQ now as a man.
I'm saying that it's about reward. Why do I need to change? I need to be rewarded to be able to change. And if I'm not being rewarded, I'm not going to change. If I'm being rewarded for doing my behavior right now, there's no point changing. This is why I have a lot of debates with men about EQ and stuff like that. Well, it's hard for them to understand it because they don't see the reward in it.
But don't you want a peaceful home? Don't you want?
They do want a peaceful home. They just did what you just did, which is that you got excited about me doing things. I'm gonna keep on doing things. And if you're not necessarily sharp on EQ, then why do I need to increase my EQ?
Listen,
water finds its level.
Huh?
Water finds its level.
So it's okay. So how does someone like me who is really about my EQ life. As I said, I'm into developing myself. I'm into self-awareness. I'm into emotional regulation. I'm into introspection. These are the things that intelligence has within it.
Absolutely.
How do I, like, how long, like, if I connect with someone, if I had to have a question here, how long
do you wait?
Would that take? Yeah, how long would that take to manifest, as it were, in terms of if they have it or not?
I mean, I think
reveal itself.
I think the more you become acquainted with EQ, IQ, AQ, SQ, the more you become acquainted with it, the easier it is to be able to discern it much more quicker. One has to be acquainted with it and let it be its daily language. Then you start to realize someone is proficient in it. Same way we know when someone is not, their first language is not English.
Yeah.
When you start talking, like, whoa, some of the words you're using are a little bit out of place. I know your first language is not English.
And that's another thing. That's why I feel like when as I'm getting more deeper into these things and building myself up, ultimately is personal growth and development, yeah? So as I'm doing that, it's also making me, and probably other people out there as well, harder to date, harder to access. I'm not going to lie, your dating pool and stuff starts to go down.
Yeah.
Because you're looking for the things that you know are important to you. It's a value thing, isn't it? And, you have to just honour that not everyone likes
sometimes
things or is a fan of growth and development as you are. So
that's why sometimes ignorance is bliss. It's a sad world. This is just the honest truth that sometimes ignorance is bliss. And that the more you become more proficient in those intelligences, the harder it's going to become to find a partner, because you're going to be looking for somebody on the same level or greater. You are swallowing
But
up
what do you do if you're already with someone? That's the question. What do you do if you're already with someone in a relationship and you've been assessing, you've been thinking, you've been having this like inner voice go on, and things don't seem to be getting better. As you keep talking, your mouth keeps getting drier. What do you do? What do you do?
What do you do? I mean, listen, you've got two choices really. You can have a walk, or you can try to help aid the journey. And it really just depends on the willingness of the participant who's with you. Are they willing to work on those particular aspects as well, And also as well depends how you feel, because what you don't want to do is build a bear and, that person, you build them up and they become proficient in everything you want them to become, and now they're looking elsewhere. That's also a reality too. So, you have to, you can only weigh up contextually by each case. But yeah, I mean, that's also a situation. I remember I've had a friend and, they wanted their partner to have more understanding of love languages so they could understand their particular perspective, right? And look, I was like, listen, there's a book, they can read it, but maybe they won't read it. So what you have to do is feed them. You have to feed them like a baby. You give them extracts. You don't give them the whole book. Yeah. Work like a charm.
Is it?
Yeah, because you have to understand how the person is. Some people cannot take a whole book and read it. If I tell you to go and read a book, you might be like, oh, yeah. And I'll go, did you read it? Oh, yeah, that book. I haven't read it yet. But if I give you extracts, if I give you shorts, you can digest it, take it in small by small, and little by little it's teaching you. It's a slower journey, but the person's been induced slowly but surely. You know what I mean? Rather than just trying to slump it all in them and expecting them to know it straight away. Doesn't work like that. We're all on a journey. But again, you've got to weigh it case by case. I wouldn't advise you to build a bear.
100%. No way. No way. So in the grand scheme of things, and I guess being partners with someone, how does this whole EQ thing work? Like, do you think women prioritize it too much? Do men need to come up higher?
First and foremost, the first point of call is choose the right kind of partner that's on your level, because some people don't have a high EQ.
That's what I'm saying. Date within your EQ level. You know what? We need to stop talking about, because I think I've seen comments in blog posts about something within your tax bracket, and I'm like, forget the tax bracket. Yeah, those things can be worked on. We can get those coins, but the EQ, I think that's what it is for me. I feel like that needs to be looked at, and you should date within that
range.
100%.
I would agree that
100%.
I think that, like I said, we're in 2023 now, and I think the new generation that are coming up, EQ is very important, especially for a man as a leader. because your leadership is not just provision in terms of finances. Your leadership is provision in being emotionally, mentally, spiritually, can even be sexually as well,
deep.
and then in finances as well. So your provision encompasses several areas, and the same thing can be said for when it comes to protection. It's not just my physical protection, which most of us are not going to get into a gunfight. Probably not going to run into somebody who's going to have to try and fight you. So your protection actually now is emotional, mental. And I'm going to say something that's going to be a bit wild.
Hey.
But as a man, you are tasked with keeping the relationship regulated. For instance, I'm going to say something. Ladies, you might disagree with me, and it may be wild, but just listen, hold on. Y'all be saying sometimes that when it gets to the time of month, y'all get a little crazy. And I'm using the word loosely, crazy. Y'all get a little bit, emotional.
A little cranky,
you feel
a little
cranky,
on
feeling,
edge,
right?
a little...
Okay, so the Bible says, dwell with a woman according to knowledge. I have to begin to understand you as a leader that it can get to a point where you might feel some type of way. How I need to respond is to make sure this doesn't escalate. So if you're having a moment, forget even time of month, just say you're having a moment, right? I can't allow the thing to escalate. The moment it starts rising, I've got two choices. Either tell you, listen, hey, babe, listen, it's getting to a point, it's rising, and I see that we're not going to be able to be productive in this conversation. Let's park it. Let's come back another time. If I don't do that and it rises and I join you, I am not protecting you. Now I'm protecting me. So as a leader, you have to start realizing your protection isn't just about fighting the goons who are outside. It's actually also making sure that we protect each other. So if I can see that you're getting irate, I don't join you in the irateness. I go, babe,
So your job is like diffuser.
You have to learn how to diffuse. Because what women will do that's different to men is that you remember the feeling, not the argument. That's why when you're saying an argument, she'll be like, no, but that's how I felt. And it's like, whoa, that wasn't the argument though. But the argument is about how she felt. What she's left with is an impression. So if I start arguing with you and taking it to the highest hill, all you're going to remember is Kojo took it to the highest hill and he was running his mouth and did it. You're not talking about the argument anymore. You're talking about how you feel. And that's always going to last longer. So now I have to make sure that when those moments come
Even
up,
after the makeup sex.
calm down. Yeah,
Yeah, the words start festering.
You start remembering the words, right? So there you go. So I have to make sure that in that moment, I don't allow things to escalate to a point. That's how I protect you. And you may want to have an argument at that time of like, well, babe, listen, right now we can't be productive. That's how we be protected our people. And that comes with EQ.
But that's what I'm saying. Why are you saying this right now? And I'm like, I don't hear men talking like this. I don't hear men talking like this.
Because we won't use that language. And a lot of men will feel like this EQ language is more, quote unquote, i.e. feminism, right? Rather than actually acknowledging it. The reality of the situation
is it like this simp kind of
they might say that,
culture?
Yeah. They would say that it involves that, like it's simp culture. But I think what the reality is that we're putting words on something that maybe some people understand without the words, right? So they know it, but they don't put words to it. Do you know what I mean? It's just called being a man, quote unquote. Not every man knows that, but they might put it that way. I just think to myself that it's about, as a man, understanding that in 2023, your role is different. Your role isn't just about being a provider. And most people are not financial providers on their own. We're in a different generation. So you have to find where you can also lead in other areas. Otherwise, you will become redundant. And that's what we're finding men and women now having this argument. The reality is that men are feeling themselves being shifted out of society.
Jeez.
But it's because you need to reassess how you are important, which is not just financially, emotionally and mentally.
But this is a part of my why for this, because this is about self-work now.
I agree.
This is like the privacies of your own home when it's just you, yourself and you. Like, what are you doing? And that's what I'm saying. I feel like when people are stepping outside their houses or they're getting on these apps, it's like you have an audacity at this point because you're not even doing your self-work. You're just a project. And when you don't do your self-work, you become a project. Yeah, so with EQ as well, and as I said, kind of like if you're in something, like I think EQ is about also not just starting something, but actually getting out of something as well. What does that look like for you? Like... in terms of the thought processes one would have if they were trying to like think and assess a relationship without the emotions, without the, oh, I just love him so much, or without the, oh, we've been together for 4 years. It's not a length of time thing. It's an assessment. Like what does that look like to you? What do you think?
Well, I think that also then that's why we said about being more well-rounded, right? Because EQ on its own EQ on its own is not sufficient. You need to be able to encompass it with the social, the adversity, and also the intelligence, right? Problem solving. And so when it gets to a relationship aspect, you first have to, I will say, honor your feelings, which is you feel the way you feel. And once you've honored your feelings, now we can walk past that and we can now objectively look at the situation. This is where the intelligence also comes in. How do I look at the situation and how is it benefiting me? Am I being taken? It's more being taken from me than actually is being given.
How does it serve me? That's a coaching question. Yeah.
So in that moment, you have to go past. You have to go past the emotional awareness is about also emotional intelligence. Also about the awareness of your emotions and understanding how they play a role in how you make decisions. So once you can get to that space, you can go, okay, I may be feeling a bit scared or anxious right now because I'm thinking about I'm going to be alone if I have to do this situation. Honor those feelings. Honor it. Be present in it. Accept it. Those feelings are absolutely real.
Yeah.
And once we've sat in it, let's walk past it because now we need to be objective about the situation and actually weigh up the pros and the cons of the situation. Is this relationship absolutely benefiting me? Am I being taken advantage of? Am I being taken from more than I'm being given to? You know what I mean? Like,
is value being added to me?
That's the thing. So then you can actually weigh up those options. So you have to honor your feelings because you cannot say you can't honor your feelings. They are a part of you.
They're valid. They're valid.
But then when you have to walk past that and then go be objective about the situation. What is actually happening right now? And that usually takes time. You have to sit in what you're seeing there. And sometimes people don't want to sit in it because they're going to have to deal with what's going to come next. EQ is very much important in that as well because it's a loop. Because once I walk past it and I look at it objectively, I have to then look back at the emotional aspect because, okay, let's say, for instance, I walk past it, I say, okay, now I'm looking at it. They're not great. They keep taking from me. Okay, but why have I sat in it so long? Then we go back to our emotions. Well, because maybe I felt like I was scared to be alone. It's a loop. You understand? So you keep doing that loop. You know what I mean? Yeah.
EQ, I guess not a low EQ necessarily, but a good EQ and working on your EQ will actually stop you from settling. That's what just come to me just now. It will stop you from settling. If you have those moments where you're able to have active awareness and stuff like that, those things are going to stop you from settling, thus living your higher life. Do you know what I mean? Your best self. Yes.
I think also though, within EQ though, there's something that has been mentioned, which is language, which is important to be able to define what you're actually feeling. Because oftentimes people can feel but don't know what they're feeling, right? You just get a feeling. But you need language to be able to put down exactly what you're feeling. This allows you to have some sense of normancy. Like, okay, great, I'm feeling angry. And that's where the EQ comes in, where if you have language that you can go, I know I'm feeling angry, rather than I know I'm feeling something. Feeling something leaves you in confusion. This is where the process and understanding and expression comes in. So, yeah, that's also important as well when it comes to language.
So just a few tips for anyone that, I don't know, I guess is maybe wanting to up their EQ. So yeah, learn from your lover, exercise active awareness so you are not going off past assumptions. Basically don't judge them for their prior, but actually just also assess and see what's happening in the now. Own up to your mistakes. That's the massive one. Like, I didn't really, when I was doing a bit of research on this, I was like, it's true because I think I tend to be quite transparent and own my stuff. If you're wrong, I recognize my human limitations. I'm not going to be perfect, and owning up is just, it's normal to me, but obviously, of course, it's not normal to everybody. So owning your mistakes and just that's just, for me, it's just, it's a necessity, you know?
That might be a little bit difficult for some people because that ties back into, like I said, EQ, because I have to be able to understand why I don't feel comfortable owning something.
But also as well, self-awareness comes into that as well. Owning your mistakes, you have to know you've made a mistake, not someone sitting you down for 6 hours and saying, this is what went wrong, what do you say? And they're still like, no, that's, yeah. So if, you see, this is what I mean. It's sometimes, and this is what I guess love about this, conversations like this, it helps you step out of your world and not look at life through the lens of yourself and your own values and stuff like that. Because, yeah, there are obviously a plethora of people out there, completely different Yeah, so I guess it's finding out about what's underneath the owning of the mistakes.
And that's what comes back to the EQ. What it comes to an emotional intelligence, because you have to be able to understand your emotions. The reason why someone can't own their particular stuff, i.e. they're not a narcissist or anything like that, the reason why they can't own it is because there's shame, there's guilt that's often attached to it. There's embarrassment that's attached to it. And when you don't want to acknowledge that you feel those things, you'll cover it with anger, frustration.
Also, image. Some people are also addicted to an image they want to uphold. So to own a mistake would be like, oof, I'm not as perfect as I've put out there, or, you know, my social media looks, or whatever it is, the reputation that you're trying to uphold. This is for tips for better EQ. Get clarity. So if in doubt about anything, ask questions. It doesn't have to be an attack, just curiosity. What did you mean when you said X and X and X? Oh, help me unpack that. What's underneath that? Get understanding. Yeah, there's a difference between kind of being wise in what you say and not being yourself, to not say anything at all. So that's another thing as well. If you find like you're suppressing every single thing, sit down with yourself, ask why. Why is that going on? What's going on? Why am I hiding this from this person? What makes me afraid to speak my truth, as it were? And just some example self-coaching questions. What are my feelings telling me about the need that I have? Your feelings are going to be connected to a need. So it's about trying to strip back from the feeling and work out what the need is within you. From what I've seen so far, is my partner able to meet the need within me? This might be something that could end up being a deal breaker. I'm not going to lie. A non-negotiable, a value of yours. And you've seen time and time again, they've been unable to. You're not trying to change anybody out here. So it is about maybe assessing for yourself. Is this something I can continue with? Not that I'm trying to break up relationships out here. Just the FYI. Is not having this need met a non-negotiable. If it hasn't always been this way, what have been the catalyst things that have led me to this place? Anything to share on this? Any tips or?
Yeah, I would just ask people just to slow down. Review this, do a self-review of the tape of your life. If you've come from if you're in a relationship, slow down. Really assess what's actually happened. Give yourself that time. Whether it's a breakup, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're single, you have to give yourself that time to be able to assess the tape, because a lot of times people are still running. So when you're still running, doing things always, even if you give yourself 5 minutes in the morning, and you'll realize how much your mind is already trying to run ahead of itself. And that's where you have to start realizing that your brain needs time just to be able to just and if you can give yourself at least 5-10 minutes a day, just be able to, okay, let me just slow it down, pause, and really just be present. That's where you start to acknowledge some of the feelings you're actually having. So yeah, I would say to anybody that slow down. That's literally it. Slow down.
100%.
Be present in that moment.
I'm like in this day and time, I'm not gonna lie, I'm hearing about people leaving like 10-year relationships and then back on the dating scene 3 months later. Like how does that work? I know we're all different, but it just seems super fast for me, fast paced, like no time to sit and process and heal and unlearn or do whatever you need to do. Once again, this comes into self-work and then getting yourself to a point where you're like, okay, I'm good now, and then getting yourself back there, you know. Thank you for watching, listening to the Glow Up Tribe pod. I've had an amazing chat with Kojo. It's been really insightful. And yeah, if you're not already following on platforms, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, then do so, and we will see you on the next one. Kojo, any final words?
Again, just literally slow down, acknowledge your feelings, honor the feelings that you have, and if you want to grow, you know what I mean, I always say, listen, study to show yourself approved, you know? Yeah,
cool. All right, bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe and hit that bell button for notifications of our uploads, and join the conversation over on our Instagram at the Glow Up Tribe Pod.